reporting from my truth bunker buried in an undisclosed location in Stand Your Ground country. The name of the show is Trigger Warning. If you're impressionable and stupid, turn the video off right now. What you're about to see is for entertainment purposes only. My entertainment. Remember Black Lives Matter? Remember how they were national news for a while? Whatever happened to them? Many of us suspected that there was something fishy going around in the media. Maybe it was some kind of propaganda for a particular political issue. The newscasters were touching their nipples as they reported on it. But what does that mean? We didn't have all the information. It's been a few years and now we do. Now let's take a look at why Black Lives Matter doesn't matter. It scares people when you start talking about a black future or a chocolate New Orleans. Do you know how paranoid Americans are? It's because so many groups are actually trying to get us. If you say Black History Month, that confuses and infuriates white people.
This concept of love confuses and infuriates us!
Because they don't know where they were that month. Aren't white people part of history? What did you do with my missing month? How did you take it from me? Do you have a time machine? Can I see it? Average Americans aren't going to read into anything that doesn't immediately solve one of their depressing problems. They're busy rotting away at their dead-end jobs, constantly fearing yet secretly wishing for the collapse of their asphyxiatingly comfortable lifestyle. So when they hear a phrase like Black Lives Matter, they're gonna go get their gun and buy gold just in case. What we have here is a problem with marketing. The term Black Lives Matter is not a good slogan. You want to get your point across all at once, not just try to invoke shame or sympathy. Americans had their ability to feel shame and sympathy browbeaten out of them in maximum security middle school, so now you have to spell everything out to them all clear-like. Now, a good example of marketing can be seen in this dumbass McDonald's slogan, I'm loving it. It's grammatically incorrect, but it's easily understood. It's positive, it's friendly, it's clear. It's a lie, but that doesn't matter. McDonald's is not a place of love or truth. It is the place where homeless people go to the bathroom. But people still eat their shit sandwiches because the marketing works. What Black Lives Matter should have called themselves is, Police are murdering black people. It's more of a mouthful, but it's very clear. Journalists and politicians are very keen at abusing language to their benefit, so you want to make sure there's no vagary in your sloganizing. Police are pretty good at abusing language too. When a self-proclaimed officer of the law pulls you over, they will ask some tricky questions that sound casual. Questions like, do you have any idea how fast you were going? If you dare say no, they will take that as permission to clock you in at whatever speed they like and ticket the shit out of you. If you say yes, they will take that as an admission of guilt for whatever speed they decide they already clocked you at. You have to say, I was driving safely under the speed limit, pig. If a police officer asks, do you mind if I search your vehicle? If you say no, they will accept that as you saying, no, I don't mind. But if you say yes, they will also take that as an invitation to search your vehicle. You have to say, I do not consent to a search, pig, and you retain the right to withdraw your consent to a search, pig, at any time. How many people are killed by the police each year in America? According to the police, none. What events preceded the creation of this group? Oh yeah, several high-profile cases of police murdering black people. How would the police get themselves out of this one? Oh yeah, they're the police. They can just decide that it wasn't legally murder. Problem solved. The families were left with no legal recourse to defend themselves or to seek justice, so they formed an angry mob. They stupidly formed a pacifist mob. What they should have done is gotten a lot of guns and second amended all the police and overthrew the government, half the country would have joined them just for the fun of it. The South half, that is. In most countries besides Canada, visible minorities are treated like second-class citizens. But the government isn't out to get you because of your race. The government isn't out to get black people. The government is out to get everyone. The government isn't racist. It's evil. Police aren't murdering black people because they're black. They're murdering poor people and getting away with it because they're poor. What we have is an income inequality situation in several major cities. Once we get that figured out, the police will be murdering people in proportion to their demographics. How are they getting away with murdering poor people? Poor people cannot afford a good legal defense. Rich people can. Therefore, the rich and those funded by the government can literally get away with murder. The rich, functionally, have more legal rights than the poor. Oh, and by the way, you're one of the poor. How did it get to be this way? Because of people like you. You know that greasy, stringy-haired homeless man who shuffles along the sidewalk begging for change, who's probably a murderer who feeds on children's dreams? Do you feel much pity for that guy? Do you want to take him into your home and foot bathe him and spoon feed him hot soup? Of course not. You'd be happy if that guy died in a ditch to make the streets safer at night. That's how the rich in this country feel about you. That's what you are to them. You are committing the same moral crime as them every day, and you don't see the hypocrisy. Fuck you. I've seen it all. People all have the same attitude towards rich and poor. If someone is poorer than you, you say, they must be lazy. They chose to be poor. If someone is richer than you, you say, they must be a crook. They're taking advantage of the system. And it's the same thing at every income level, and everyone sees themselves as being in the middle. That's the attitude your politicians have about poverty in this country. See, the elite in this country are multimillionaires, and they would say they chose to be rich and worked hard, so therefore they deserve it. And if you're poor, it's because you didn't choose to be rich and didn't work hard. And this is the logic they're using to make economic policies. The attitude that you have towards that flea-bitten povert living under the bridge is reflected in the government's economic policies towards the middle class. Same as you, they don't care if those poor sons of bitches live or die. You see, when it's election time and you go to vote, you don't vote for candidates for how responsible they are or how moral they are. You vote for them because they say they're gonna create jobs and get tough on crime. So that's why instead of having a government that's responsible and moral, we have a government that gives tax breaks to the rich, hands out money to big businesses, incarcerates a terrible number of criminals, and isn't afraid to shoot suspected criminals dead in the street. You did that. It was you. Drink that bitter tea. A tongue-in-cheek anti-protest, it's okay to be white, caught some attention from the media too. How dare they say it's okay to be white? The media decried. That's like saying it's not okay to be black. You see, even that message is too confusing. The truth of the matter is that it isn't socially acceptable to be any race. Another example of attempting to compress a complex social issue into a tiny soundbite is the Me Too movement. Good job, guys. You got Bill Cosby thrown under the bus and set a legal precedent that the statute of limitations doesn't matter if enough people are offended. Unless you're a Democrat, of course. Me Too should have called themselves Don't Rape Anyone or We'll Cut Your Dick Off. It's very clear what that group stands for, what they want, and that they mean business. Also, they should all carry guns and lynch government officials who have gotten away with sex crimes. I'll join you. Hang 'em high. But yeah, fuck the police. Fuck this guy. Fuck that guy. Fuck this car. Fuck that dog. Fuck. When you talk about minorities being disenfranchised, or being at a disadvantage, nobody cares. No one who's not in those groups cares if this phrasing might affect these people emotionally or culturally. But when you rephrase the same statement to talk about white privilege, it reverses the emotional narrative in a way that white people can't contend with. White people don't see themselves as taking advantage of the system any more than black people see themselves as choosing to be poor. Now, some of the brain fondlers in the Illuminati jumped on this rephrasing as a propaganda tool to make it seem racist to speak out against unregulated mass immigration. They went ahead and forced Germany into a situation that is eerily similar to the demographic problem that got Hitler elected. Now all we need is hyperinflation, and it's Nazi time. According to quote-unquote authorities, anyone who has a problem with illegal immigration is apparently suffering from collective narcissism. Thank you for telling us how to feel our own feelings, Arash Ememzadeh of Psychology Today. This is the rebranding of the feeling of pride as something that sounds like a disease. This rephrasing of common terms has become the modern way to claim victimhood and is being used to push the Democrat agenda. Of course, the same linguistic tactic can be used in reverse. We could call the gender people of the LGBTQ movement anti-normative, or we could call the racial majority unminorities, and we could call the illegal immigrants nation displacers. Get it? They were displaced from their nation, and now they're here to displace you from yours. It's like back in the mid-aughts when Fox News spent 4 years trying to get everyone to call rich people job creators. White people sure would like a taste of that privilege. I'm sure Jewish Americans would like a share of that quote-unquote all the world's money that they supposedly control. Are black people at a disadvantage? Maybe. But then white people are anti-disadvantaged, which puts them at a disadvantage because they can't claim victimhood. If victimhood is supposed to be the same thing as moral authority, then that leaves rich people as victims. These minority groups don't mind using this rhetoric on the majority, but just wait until it gets used on the minorities to enforce fascism. Black civil rights leaders will be branded as figureheads of collective narcissism, and you won't have the right to defend yourself from oppression because it will be a hate crime to define yourself as being oppressed. Now, why am I bringing all this up? Why am I digging deep and reminding you about ancient news no one has talked about for 4 years? Well, it's going to all come back round again and be relevant any second now. These are all talking points in the last episode of the dancing clown shoe shit show that was the American election. Weird how the news only reports on police violence and undocumented immigrants at around those times, isn't it? Between the elections, the news is about the most recent disaster. So I'm sure this disaster that we're currently facing will be cleared up by the time the political debate starts on more airtime on the news. Update, 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 update. Did I call it or what? Just before this video was released, an outbreak of poorly written news escaped the DNC holding cells. The media figureheads went ahead and reported on a cop killing an unarmed black man again. They couldn't think of an original way to do it, so they just copied an old classic. That man couldn't breathe, I guess. George Floyd was an African-American man who was murdered by police, they all say. He was African-American. I guess after you die, you cease to be African-American. Like you leave your blackness behind on Earth when you go to heaven or something. I'll have some pretty tough questions for God about that if I get to meet him. Now, what's racist about all this is when the news fakes a disaster about white people, they use white actors. When they want to fake news about black people, they murder real black people. That's fucked up, Illuminati. No one will support your totalitarian regime if they find out you're racist. Keeping up with the theme of my wizardly prognostication, I predict that this new wave of racial troubles will continue until the election no longer needs them. Then it will be back to terrorism and disasters. There is a possibility in the mix that tickles my fancy. The fancy is located at the base of the tail. Try touching a cat there, you'll see. There is a distinct possibility that the asshole masterminds behind the Democrat Party will get exposed for aggravating the riots by sending covert operatives to start the fires and cause most of the destruction that's being blamed on the protesters. I don't doubt that they're behind it, but the idea of them getting exposed? Ooh! Imagine the DNC officially recognized as a terrorist organization. Politicians exposed in conspiracies against the public. My nipples are diamonds. This video is pretty funny. Look here. There's a cop with pepper spray. He ignores the not-so-black people and goes for the unarmed black man. Aha, the cop thinks. This blacko is unarmed, so he can't fight back. It just goes to show you, the only thing that police understand is violence. And now a look at the upcoming election. A few days ago, Sky News Australia did a great piece on Joe Biden with a parade of his stupidest moments that I can't beat. I recommend you watch their video. How is Joe Biden the Democratic frontrunner, you might ask? He's not. Not really. Like, he is for the moment, but this is temporary. This is literally a joke put together by the evil powers behind the election. They saw Trump win instead of Satan's girlfriend, even though he has the speech patterns of a drunk vagrant trying to sell you stolen goods under a bridge. They thought, oh yeah, America? You like dumb rambling old men? We've got the dumbest, rambliest, oldest man in the world.
I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years and that I'm going to beat Joe Biden.
Biden isn't really part of the global elite. Look at him. He's just a little buddy they keep around for exactly this sort of thing. You see, it's just a matter of time before he drops an N-bomb, or accidentally trips and falls on a woman dick out, or becomes a sacrificial lamb to the Me Too movement, or Black Lives Matter, or whatever innocuous-sounding hate group is popular at the time. Then guess who? A dark savior will appear from the shadows, throw Biden under the bus, and use his skull like a goblet. Hillary, free from her prison on the moon, will run for president once again.
After 10,000 years, I'm free! It's time to conquer Earth!
That's right, the devil saw its shadow, and we're in for 6 more months of American politics. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. If you did not like this video, like, comment, and subscribe.